Hey guys, we're here with Coach Williams. This is an opportunity for us to get to know Coach. He's new to the Inside Texas family. I guess if you really think about it, Coach, this is kind of the two new guys talking to each other, getting a sense of what's going on. But I wanted to, first of all, welcome you. I'm really glad that you're here. It's something I just said to you before I hit record, but as someone that's been reading that site for well over a decade, the stuff that you're bringing right now is really unique, really insightful. And frankly, it's not the type of stuff that we get the opportunity to read because of a unique experience that you're bringing to the table here. And I'd love to talk about that experience for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, most definitely, man.
So you and I talked about this briefly. Tell us what you're doing this time last year.
So this time last year, I was at the AFCA convention, right, with all the other college coaches or those who wanted to be college coaches like myself. Trying to mingle, pass out your resume, rub elbows with the right people so you can get an opportunity to coach at the next level.
Yeah.
I was afforded that opportunity for Coach Brandon Marion, who's the former Texas long-term receivers coach. Became an offensive coordinator at UNLV. You know, we had a great relationship I had a great relationship with him going all the way back to his time at Howard. You know, he's recruited a ton of my kids. When I was working in the high school area here in the DFW. So that's really kind of where it starts, right? You build a relationship with these college coaches when they come around to your school. Luckily enough for me, I had a bunch of talented kids that a lot of schools wanted. So that helped me, right? And so build a relationship from there. He had an opportunity for me. He's like, you want to come to Vegas? I'm like, man, that's far away from the family. You know what? I'm going to take this shot because this is really what I want to do with my career, right? I want to grow. I want to coach at the next level. And so I took that, sacrificed that opportunity, and I went. And I didn't get there until June, though. So I wasn't there during spring ball. I missed all of that. So I got there in actual June of 2023.
Oh, my gosh. Listen, I know I gave you a really hard time about that fountain coming at the top of your head because that's your daughter, your wife's training area. You can lean forward, man. It's totally okay.
All right, cool.
We're not going to judge you on it.
All right, great. Cool. It makes like I have like
we get
hair
to see your
piece or
face
something
now.
Back there.
Yeah, it's okay. Totally work.
Right.
Don't worry about it. So you're going to UNLV. You've got this opportunity. Now you're going in as director of player personnel. Is that right?
So on this side, I was in pretty much quality control.
Oh, great.
I assisted with the tight ends, in the tight end room, did recruiting. If you name it, I've probably done it this past season, right? Running scout team, drawing scout cards, putting together scouting reports, breaking down film, input on film on practice, and everything you can imagine. Hey, the office needs donuts. Okay, like I'm going to go do that too, right? Like you name it, I've done it. And so
walk me through this a little bit because look, you've got twin daughters.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in Dallas.
Right.
This is an opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're heading out to Nevada and you are just literally doing everything under the sun for this team.
Right.
I think one of the things that a lot of people don't fully appreciate when it comes to the college game is how much sacrifice is involved. Mm-hmm. Like how often are you getting to see your family during the season?
Yeah. So for me, I saw them twice during the season from the time I left in June and I saw them in a bye week at the end of October.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, during the summer break, it's a little more lax, right? It's not the 18-hour days like you do during the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came home for a week in 4th of July. Then I didn't get back here to Dallas till like October. And it wasn't even a full 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
At the time, so I came home. I got home at like 1 a.m. and I was leaving at 8 p.m. the next day, the same day.
God, it's such a quick turnaround. That's pretty phenomenal. Now, you were just telling me about all these relationships that you were able to establish when you were in the high school game.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that life like? Now, you were coaching at that time. Give us a little background about where you're coaching, what's going on with all of that.
Yeah, so I was coaching at John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas. Fortunate enough to be on a great staff, a bunch of former NFL guys. One of George Teague, who was a former Cowboy, and a Crimson Tide player, which he reminds everybody of that every single day. It was a ton of guys. Jonathan Scott, former Longhorn National Championship team.
Oh,
he was on that staff. Chet Brooks, who's the father of Terrence Brooks that plays for Texas now, the starting cornerback. So he was on that staff. So it was a host of guys, right? And being around them, really learned the game of football inside and out. But through the years, I was a recruiting coordinator there. Even though I coached the defensive line, I was a recruiting coordinator there. So it's my job to put together like a prospect sheet, right? So yeah, as you know now, college coaches are out on the road visiting high schools. I put together like a presentation pretty much on an Excel form. So when they came, hey, you're able to see my kids. Here's their entire profile, 40 times grades, their huddle link. So when you get there, you don't have to ask questions. It's all laid out for you.
Right.
And like I said before, it was easy because I had a lot of talented kids. A lot of schools would come by, and it made it easy to sell the kid to the schools that would come by. So that's what I did for 5 years there.
And I think that's good. One of the things we don't often see is that side of the recruiting, right? We get all these reports from Justin. We understand who the players are. We get a sense of where they're coming from a 30,000 foot view of this is the school. But as a school itself, as a program, can you talk us through a little bit about how you're prepping not only the kids, but those materials? Because obviously, you're highly incentivized not only for the kids to get some programs, but it makes your program look really good and makes you as coaches look really good if you're developing those players and putting them at the next level. So what kind of attention are you putting to that? How does that work? Does it start their freshman year? I know I threw a lot at you just there, Coach, but what does that stuff look like?
Yeah, so a ton of kids, they do have like the private trainers. So if they're receiver, there was receiver trainers here, defensive back trainers, offensive lineman trainers, right? So I actually encourage those kids to actually go and get that one-on-one time, right? Because during the season, I'm trying to teach you the playbook. Yeah, we may do things, they're individual drills to work on footwork, catching, but the trainers have more time to do detail work. And I'm all for it. And I'm really good friends with a lot of the trainers here in the DFW area. And it's like, please go get that extra work because it's only going to make you better, right? So because the goal is you want to send a kid to college ready day one. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, well, freshman, he's ready. Like the more you know, the more you can do when you get there as a freshman, the more likely is you're going to play, right? Instead of sitting on the bench for 2 or 3 years. Because believe it or not, college coaches don't really have the time to say, hey, I'm going to groom you for 2 or 3 years like it used to be because I can just go to the transfer portal, right? And so really getting those kids ready on the field, but also off the field, like getting their mentality right. That's the hardest part because everybody loves you when they're recruiting you. But once you step foot on their campus, I don't care who you are. Yeah. Okay, you're here. What are you gonna do now? And so getting those guys prepared mentally, make sure they know the X's and O's, right? How do you study? How do you learn the playbook? Most kids come from, high school. It's a bunch of signals, one words. You have to learn that stuff at the college level. But can you actually digest a playbook and put it together? Can you play more than one position? Can you be versatile? And I think that was something we did great at John Paul is we coached them for everything, prepared them for everything. So when they got to the college level, I've seen this before. I've been prepared for this. It wasn't, and you gain that reputation from college coaches like, hey, man, we got your kid, and he came in ready. And that's the goal, right? Because that's a compliment, but now they trust you. Yeah. I can go back and get a kid from him because I know what I'm getting out of him, out of his kids. And so you just build a relationship as you go, and that's pretty much it.
If there's one or two things, and I understand there's way more than that, but that you could instill, if we've got a high school kid that's listening to this right now, or a parent that's listening to this right now, and they've got a kid that might be on the cusp of being a prospect, what are one or two things from the mental game that they should really be focusing on to be day one ready?
From the mental side, I would say you really have to get up with a purpose every single day that you're going to try to better yourself, no matter what it is. If I'm trying to get stronger, I'm going to go in this weight room and during this athletic period and work my butt off, right? I'm going to put in extra sprints, right, to do conditioning. Like you really have to push yourself to the limit and say, I'm going to be better than everybody else on this field. And you have to be at the next level because everybody's thinking the same way. So what are you going to do extra, right? When you're not getting that much playing time, or you're going to get down on yourself. We used to put kids in situations, put them in losing situations. Well, work your way out of it. Yeah. It's not only just football, it's the real world as well, right? And so work your way out of that mentally. Can you do it? All right. And I think you need to put yourself in much pressure situations as you can, because when you get to the next level, it's a lot of pressure. All right. And so that would say that try to outwork everyone. Always go to extra step, go to extra mile. And from a physical standpoint, I guess let me not say physical because we said mental.
You're all right.
Learn the game. Learn the game of football.
Yeah.
Don't just learn your playbook, right? Because when you get to the next level, learn the pro. If you're a receiver, learn all the routes, right? Learn the routes. Go study it. You got YouTube, you got everything else now, right? Go learn what a pro system look like. You got the common routes like a slant. You got a post, right? Do you know what a quick Omaha is, though? A post curl, a lift route. It's like go learn the terminology. So when the coach is spitting at you at the next level, you know what it is. You can go out there with full speed and run it versus, okay, let me go line up. Okay, what route do I have? What route do I have? Yeah. You know it, right? And so go prepare and go study. Go study this thing so that you can be ahead of the competition, because so many kids get by on athleticism only, right?
Yeah.
They feel like, I don't have to know the extra stuff. Okay. I got you. Now I got a leg up on you because I know that. So I would say that.
Well, that's great. Yeah. One of the things, and I know that we've said this, and I think I should let some of the folks know, because we do have some folks that are listening to this and or watching it on YouTube that aren't subscribers to Inside Texas. And if that's the case, please take this opportunity, go ahead and subscribe to InsideTexas.com. Coach Williams has been putting out, he's on part 6 already of this amazing series. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in detail here in a second. But check out InsideTexas.com. It is $1 for the first month. After that, if we can't earn your business, then we're not doing our job. It's a fantastic community, and you get into the depth of the college game that Coach Williams is providing us right now. So let's talk about this series that you're doing a little bit, Coach.
Okay.
You've broken it down. You've got 6 parts, starting from off-season conditioning for the players, installing an offense, letting everybody know what the graduate assistants, the interns, everybody does, and then scouting reports. That's really been the last few series, is really getting in depth of the scouting reports. And I think the thing that the common fan just really doesn't understand is the depth of all of that. We've heard some feedback on Inside Texas. We'll have our resident theory guy, Ian Boyd, go in there and post some stuff, and people in the comments are like, are we sure we should be letting the opponents know this? And like Ian's like, we're fine. we're not even scratching the surface of the information that these guys have. So was that ever, when you started getting into this and the depth of this, I'm obviously you and I both have relationships with people that have played the game at high levels. And, I remember a buddy of mine was offensive lineman at Notre Dame, and he was telling me like he literally knew the other guy's favorite books, the D tackle that he was lining up against, each week. It was just nuts, the amount of information that these people have. So how does that start? You started in part 3 with the graduate assistants. You talked about your 18-hour days, but if you could put that into terms of like the University of Texas. Obviously you're coming at UNLV where you're wearing many, many hats. And at Texas, the resources are obviously very different. So they're allowed to be a bit more specialized in their tasks. So can you just walk us through a little bit of that? Obviously, you don't need to go into the detail you did in the article, because I hope people will subscribe and read that. But letting us know, how does that work? Who has what responsibility when we're breaking down an opponent?
Yeah, so it's broken down. So if you're on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive coordinator is going to pretty much divide who has what, or as a room, right? A room and support staff. You're like, hey, I want this part, I want this part, I want this part, right? You kind of split it up amongst yourselves, right? Like, hey, I'm really good at this. I'm gonna do this. And so it really doesn't even have to come from the head coach. It doesn't have to come from the offense coordinator or defense coordinator, depending on what side of the ball you're on. You can just divvy it up with who's ever in that room with you, right? And that support staff room, and say, you put it on the wall, who wants what, and then you kind of just go to work and put it all together, right? Since we're talking about scouting reports now, which is going to get way more in detail because there's about 50 pages, right? We're only on page 6 so far. So
I did notice that. Yeah.
We got a couple more to go, right?
Yeah.
So we have somebody responsible for finding out all the information from last year, right? Okay. It's simple, right? Get their last year's schedule, the scores of the games, things like that. Future opponents. Of course, you're going to be on there if you're playing them. Your coaches' pages, somebody's responsible for that coach's page, right? So like, in Excel, you got tabs.
Yep.
You have that tab listed of whose tab it is, so go give it on there. And without giving too much away, because it's going to be, in a part of the series, everybody has a tab and everybody works on it, no matter what it is. If that's dealing with what kind of coverages do they like to run on first down, second down, third down, How often do they blitz, right? And putting those percentages in and doing the math and doing the work and watching a ton of film. But doing a coach's report, right? Like that head coach, where has he coached? Who has he coached with? If there's somebody that he's coached with maybe 5 years ago, I might reach out to that person that he coached with 5 years ago so I can get some detail, right? Intel. And so you do that with every single coach. So from the offensive side, we were looking at their defensive coaches because that's who we're facing. Mm-hmm. If you're on the defense side, you're finding all the offensive guys, all offensive coaches, because that's their job. That's who they're facing for the week. So it's split up that way, right? You have one office full of offensive guys, defensive guys over here. And you're all doing the same work, just on different sides of the ball. And so you really just find any and everything you can. If a coach took off 2 years to go work a regular job, where did he go work at? And what did he do in that 2 years, right? It's all of that. And you're on Google, you're searching everywhere, you're searching LinkedIn, anything you can find.
So I think this is the thing that just the average fan really can't comprehend. I mean, you're literally going through your phone book,
right,
trying to find as much information as you can. And from a coach's perspective, I mean, because of the way the coaching trees work, it's completely conceivable that one guy is talking to both teams that are just happening to be playing on the next week, right? They're calling about this guy and then they're calling about that guy. How much, and this may be an obvious answer, but how much are relationships a part of just the standard coaching procedure in this level of football?
It's huge. Relationships is what carries. I mean, it's the foundation of everything, honestly. So the relationships are very, very key. And I wouldn't just say with coaches, with players, right? If you're fortunate enough to coach a kid and he happened to go to a university that played against another university, hey, what did you guys scout report look like versus them? And you get a chance to see what the other coaches from the other team thought, right? Because they give the players a scouting report at the end of the week. Well, during the week, right? And it's like, okay, we got the same ideas. Great. This is what they thought about ABC player. And so you can kind of just match up what you see versus another team scouting report, right? And so having a relationship it's just key. It helps you in so many ways, right?
And how is it? I mean, is this just the nature of the beast? So everybody's willing to talk ball, or is there any sense of like propriety? I may want to hold something a little bit close.
You're not at liberty to help somebody, right?
Right.
You're not. But if you have a relationship with somebody that really wants to help you, maybe they don't like the other guy as much. Here's your information. Here you go. Anything I can do to help you.
It's just a small world, right?
It is. It's a small world.
Yeah, you're going to run into these folks 5-10 years down the road. So it might as well it's to your advantage to help some folks out. What was the thing that surprised you most when you transitioned from the high school game into over at UNLV into the college game?
I would say just like normal family thing, the amount of work that goes into a one-week game on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Because what I did in high school was getting film, doing scouting. Okay, draw the scout cards. This is what we think we're going to do. But just the level of detail it takes to prepare for an opponent. And I hate to say this line, right? But because it comes from Tom Herman. But winning is hard. It takes a lot to prepare for a game on a Saturday up until kickoff. Every little second, minute, hour counts throughout the week, starting on Sunday till kickoff, right?
Right.
And then during the game, you got a lot of adjustments. So the level of what's surprising is in high school, you can watch the game as a coach. You're watching it as at the college level. You watch it only specifically what you're supposed to watch. Right. It's like you don't notice the crowd. You don't notice anybody else. Only thing you're noticing is, like for me, I'm focused on tight ends. Mm-hmm. If I know the play call, I'm making sure they got the right blocks, the right reads, the right route. I'm not watching the game, so to speak. I'm watching the game, but I'm not. So it depends on what you're looking at. Everybody has their eyes set on a particular thing they're supposed to watch. So I would say that's different, right? Because you're thinking, as a fan, you're trying to watch, oh, great catch. I'm like, he ran the wrong route. What was he doing?
Yeah,
so
right.
It's just those things. It's so much the level of detail, honestly, to play a game on a Saturday is probably the most surprising.
And if you had to, because there are certainly people in the Texas building that you're familiar with. Give us a sense of scale. Like, do we have a analyst that's just looking at tight ends? Do we have, I mean, what level of detail, if you can let the readers and the fans know, like, because I think the big thing was Alabama, right? When Alabama started hiring all these analysts, it became a news story. And now it's just par for the course for programs with resources.
Right. So I would say this, even though you have your analysts, depending on your budget, right, you're going to have a number of analysts. Then you have your grad assistants. Usually that's 2 on offense, 2 on defense. But then you have so many interns and volunteers. Like a lot of people sacrifice their time, little to no money to come help and try to get in the industry, right? So you have those guys as well, and they're all stuck in a different room, in a different position room helping. I know if you look at a game on the Saturday, you see so many people on the sideline like, okay, who are all these people, right? They're all helping in some way. They're student assistants, they're, like I said, volunteers, they're interns. So you only probably have maybe 2 or 3 analysts per side on either side of the football that's helping, right? So it depends on what room they're in. And that's what they're watching, right? So it really just depends. I know we see Alabama get a lot of analysts, but usually they probably have 6 or 7.
Okay.
Honestly, it may seem like it's more than that because they're always hiring a new analyst because somebody always gets a job and gets promoted. But usually it's probably at the same at Texas, maybe 3 or 4 analysts either side of the ball. But a lot of times they're mostly just interns and volunteers that's on the staff.
Right. One thing that I think you may be able to provide some really unique information on, again, going back to the recruiting side, is, and your audience here, again, is a kid. There's someone that's going through the process.
Mm-hmm.
What do they need to be thinking about, and what do they need to know when they're talking to college coaches?
I'll say if you're going to talk to a college coach, be prepared, right? When you introduce yourself, I always say this, when you DM a coach, name, right, your Twitter handle, put your GPA in there. If you got a copy of your transcripts, put that in there to show that, hey, I'm a full qualifier, and then put your highlights in there, right? And then if you got your stats, put your stats there. So when they get that, they're able to see. They don't have to come back and ask you a question. They don't have to come back and say, okay, well, what was the GPA? Can he even get into school, right? Because say you're not a kid on the offer board.
Okay.
You may qualify as a preferred walk-on. You may be ahead of another kid because you're able to provide all your information all in one, right? Introduce yourself with all of that when you send out your highlight tape. Don't just send your highlight tape. Don't send everything that you have to show that you're a full, complete player, student athlete. But other than that, be consistent. Like you don't get an answer back, that's okay. Send it again. Like I would. It's okay. It's okay to bug the crap out of me. I would do it.
Right.
Because I know they get busy, as I know now. Like on the other side of things, they're busy. They don't have the time to check the DMs all the time, right?
Sure.
And there's a ton of them that I was just now getting to towards the end of the season. Like, oh man, I didn't see this kid. Let me go back because now I got some downtime, right? And because you can't answer every single kid, right? But you just have to go back and hit the coach up again, hit him up again. I would say this, and this is very, very key. A lot of kids go after the position coach because that's who is seen on the field, everywhere. Don't send your film to them. Send your film to the GAs, the people in working quality control, right? Because it's their job to gather film and send it to position coaches to look at. You send it to a position coach, he's not going to look at it. It's very rare. Send it to the guys who has that specific job to actually look at film.
Right.
That's key because they're going to look at it way faster than the position coach will. And that'll get your film across the position coach's desk way faster than you send it to a position coach. I would say that.
That's really clever too, because then again, you're not the one that's introducing yourself. The GA is introducing you.
Right,
so it's coming from a credible source in the eyes of that position coach. It's really clever.
Because for that GA, it's his job to gain trust, right? To the position coach, like, hey, I found some talent. Let me present it to you, right? So that's who you want to send your film to.
Yeah.
I would say that's key. That's something I didn't even know until I got there.
Right. So all right, let's switch gears a little bit now to Texas. Okay. All right. This is early days in your job here at Inside Texas. So we're not going to totally throw you under the bus here. But what are you most excited about with this program going into their inaugural SEC season?
the culture that this team is bringing to the SEC. I think they're not afraid of anything, but the togetherness that they have, it's going to be hard to break. And that's going to win a lot of games because they're not going to break. If I'm down 14 points, okay, we're still together. We're not going to be separate. We're not going to be saying it's your fault, finger pointing, all that. This team is like together. Coach Sarkisian has built a strong culture within inside the program. And I'm ready to see that fully display on the field. And I think you will as you go, right? You have a lot of young talent, a lot of good young talent. And I think the more they play, the better they'll be. I think it just takes a lot of game reps. I know a lot of people look at, he was a 4-star and 5-star, he should be great. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of reps to get good, to know what you're actually seeing when you're playing, right? It's total different when live bullets are out there. No matter what you did in high school,
yeah,
it's big. The game is a lot of bigger people, and it's a lot faster than what it was in high school. So I would say give this team time to grow, in which they are doing, right? And give the time for the coaches to grow too with the team, right? It's a new team every season, no matter who's returning. Every season, it's its own season. So let's see how they gel in the spring, off season, and then come into fall camp. But I feel really good about the chances going into the SEC because we do have returning players. We got players who played a lot of football. I think the game will slow down for them, and then they'll stay together. They'll fight through adverse situations.
So from a coaching perspective, so you're going in and you're doing quality control. Mm-hmm. What does a head coach need to do? How does a head coach start to establish that culture? What are the things that they bring in? And then the follow-up question to that would be, what are the types of things that Coach Sark is looking for in his staff?
Yeah, I think he's going to bring somebody in. He's going to set the tone as far as mental toughness, physical toughness, right? They probably have a hard Tuesday and Wednesday full padded practice, and we're going at it, right? That's going to build culture. It's going to build toughness. The way your weight program is, right? That's going to help build toughness and mental toughness as well, physical and mental toughness as well. So I think that sets the tone. But then putting them in situations, right? Like you're in practice. Okay, offense, you're down 6. You got 30 seconds to get down the field. You put your team in enough situations like that, I think he creates enough situations during practice that the team prepares. They're preparing without knowing they're preparing, right? And I think that's what a head coach can do. I feel like that's what Coach Sarkisian is doing. Putting them in just the hardest, toughest situations. I think Coach Sarkisian been around enough great coaches to learn that. I think one of the better coaches that I follow is Bill Belichick. That's all he does. That's all he does is put his team in worst situations possible. I don't know if it's a YouTube clip out there. He's like, hey, I don't want to hear about the situation. I don't hear any complain about it. Just play them, right? Just play the situations. And I think that builds the toughness and the character of your team. So I think that's the head coach's job is to do that because they can't go out there and play for you, but they sure can instill the character, the toughness, and the grit in the team, right? Making them tough. So I think that's it. Honestly. And then same with position coaches, like you want somebody that can relay that message, right? Let's be tough. Let's fight through the hard times. I know you're hurting. I know you're sore. I know class is hard. I know you got a paper due. I know your girlfriend left you, but I know somebody's back home and sick, but you got to respond. You still got to play. You got a job to do. How do you handle that? And I think you get that to position coaches and that gets passed down through the QCs and the GAs and right into the players. So I think the message may have changed. The tone of the message changes by the time you get down the ladder. Right.
Sure.
But, it's the same message.
Yeah. Listen, Coach, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk to us and allow us to get to know you a little bit better. We are very, very lucky to have you at InsideTexas.com. You're bringing, like I said before, this is a level of quality which is a very high standard at Inside Texas, and you are leveling us up over there. So we really, really appreciate it. And we're very, very lucky to have you.
Man, I'm grateful for you bringing me onto the show. Hopefully I can come back.
Dude.
I can't wait. If they haven't subscribed, please subscribe because I cannot wait till the season. I'm the scouting reports that you see now, I'm going to do week to week, every team we play so that a fan knows what they're facing, right? It's one thing to say, okay, that's a good player, right? But I'm going to provide details about whatever team we're facing so that you can see it way ahead of the game on Saturday, right? I'm going to show you what the team is doing week to week, day to day to prepare for the game, how the playbook is installed, how they practice and what they're doing. So I can't wait to provide those details throughout the season, game by game. I think it's going to be fun. And like I said, I just can't wait.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you so very much. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. There's so many more to come throughout the season. All our best to you. And thank you so much for watching. Take care and hook 'em.